Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rosano, and you are listening to another episode of the world famous University Love, the best podcast in one, two, three galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call this show Online Marketing Moves, and we're coming to you live today, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a very special day. Today is Thursday, May the 21st, 2026. Today, ladies and gentlemen, my little child graduates from pre-K in August. She'll be going to kindergarten. I can't believe it. The only thing I can't believe is they have the graduation. I tell you what, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now you know what? I went to a little thing back in the where I grew up, good old New Madrid, Missouri. Shout out. We had a little head start. It was sort of like pre-K, I guess. Of course, my parents they had to pay. They had to pay buku bucks. But here we are. That's neither here nor there. Okay. But they had a little graduation, a little ceremony. And today my daughter has a little ceremony, a little graduation. I hope that's the last graduation she has until she goes until she graduates high school, which would be hopefully a long, 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 long time from now. Uh, man, ladies and gents, I got a baby. I got one little baby, one little newborn baby who smells like little milk, and I got another little baby who's going to kindergarten. Makes me feel old. Wait a minute, I just might be. No, I'm just kidding. But ladies and gentlemen, we have something very important to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to discuss with you life in in the passing of time. As I am now 47 years old in 2 days. Is it 2 days or one day? It doesn't matter. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, today let's talk about time. Let's talk about why you don't need a lot of time to, you know, a lot of times we think, oh man, I need 24 hours to write a book. I need 24 hours to record a podcast. I need time, I need time. But most of the time that people get, they piss they piss it away. I hate to be honest with you, but they do. I was thinking about this. The other day I recorded a 30-minute episode at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I just went to work for a few hours, cleaning up my little truck, doing this, doing that, going down there, checking things out, making sure everything's still okay, filling out some paperwork. And then I came back. I was very tired, but I said, you know what? I'm going to record an episode. And so lately, when it comes, the first day that my daughter was born, it's like, hey man, it was the whole running back from Florida, whatever, doing all that. So you're pretty tired, but I just remember I was thinking in my mind, hey man, I gotta start recording. I gotta keep recording because when you get momentum, and when you get momentum, you want to keep the momentum going, and so it doesn't matter how much time. If you have a lot of time, great. If you don't have a lot of time, that's even better because a lot of times as humans, we tend to really hunker down when you don't have that much time. When you're like, all right, I need to do this. And it's not about, oh, let me squeeze it in. I love doing the podcast. I love recording. I love, uploading, editing, doing all that. And so for me, if I have 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, I will do a podcast because hey, it's 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 a love, it's a habit. Um, when I was in the sabbatical for these last few months, the podcast never the content created in me never left. Okay. And I was like, hey, I gotta get back. I gotta do more recording, And so the time that you have, whether it be an hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, there's always time for you to record. Listen, I've recorded in a hospital. I've recorded, down in my office. I record in my car. I've recorded, at a warehouse. I've recorded in parking lots. I've recorded some everywhere. You know why? Because this is something that I make time for. We all make time for things that we really want to do. So if you ever think to yourself, man, I really want to write a book, and you haven't written a book, you really don't want to write that book, okay? I do not want to tell you how to control your life, how to run your life, but I will tell you what. And this is why, not to get into a different subject, but this is why people get divorced, okay? Because in the beginning, when you're dating somebody, when it's new and it's fresh, you will go to the ends of the earth to meet them somewhere, even if it's for 30 minutes, even if it's for an hour. You will go out of your way to meet these people, to see this person. I can't see enough of this woman, blah, 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 I can't see enough of this fella, blah, 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 blah. Then when you get married, you take the exact opposite attitude. You go, Bill's at home, he'll be there. Shelly's at home, she'll be there when I get back, blah, 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 blah. You don't have the same enthusiasm for your spouse. You gotta keep that same. And a matter of fact, I'm gonna be honest with you. You gotta have more enthusiasm as the days go by, because when you are in a nice, um, healthy relationship, it's exciting to you. It's exciting, but you gotta keep it going. You gotta keep these things going. And it's the same as making time for your spouse. You make time for your content. Okay, we all can make time for our content. It doesn't matter if you got 10 minutes. If you got 10 minutes, record. You can always pause it. You can come back 10 minutes later on that day. If you do a lunch break, stop on your lunch break, record 10, 15 minutes, knock it out, upload it later. There's been many a times where if I recorded, I come back, uploaded it, you know, down the road, uploaded it in the same day. It's just the way it is. Just like right now, I just dropped my daughter off. It is 9:34 a.m. I'm talking to you, on May the 20th, on May the 21st. Um, and I'm like, "Hey, I gotta record because once we go back and pick her up at noon, it's gonna get hectic after that, and there won't be any time. But right now, there's time. I'm making time, okay? And that's what you got to do. Sometimes you want to, you know, how, how bad did you want? How bad do you want it? Sometimes you have to think. Sometimes you have to think to yourself, how bad do I want something? You know, sometimes you have to become a little obsessive about things. If you want it bad enough, you become obsessed about it. It's just something you have to do. It's like I tell you what, when I wanted to get back with my wife, and me and my wife, we had a little bit of a spat at one point, and for a while she didn't she didn't want to talk to you, boy. But I said, you know what? This is the woman for me. This is the woman I want to be with. And I worked doubly hard, to to win her over, and it worked out. And I mean, hey man, it's been what we've been we've been in continuity for the last 10 years now. Yeah, 10 years we've been in continuity, and we got engaged, we got married, and we have two beautiful children, and our relationship has you know, blossomed quite a bit. We've been through a lot together. I told her yesterday, I said, you and me's for life. Okay. We've been through a lot together. So, you know, it's just, what do you want? You make time. I have people that I love to see, I don't get to see them as often, but when I see them personally, I'll talk to them on the phone on a regular basis. That keeps up with the communication. This is something that me and my brother used to get into it about, and now I don't even bother my brother about it because I'm just like, hey, it is what it is. You know what I mean? At a certain point, there's only so much you can do. I have a I have a younger brother lives in Virginia. I have my homeboy. He lives in Atlanta. He lives downtown. I don't get to see him as often. And he lives in Atlanta. And I see him maybe once or twice a year, which is, it is what it is right now, you know what I mean? But we keep in contact, text, call him, you know, my baby brother Virginia, call him, every couple weeks, maybe once a month we talk, but we keep the lines of communication open. So then and then of course when we see each other, it's just like when I see my when I see my baby brother, it's like it's funny. It's like time time never passed. You know what I mean? It's like we're still the same. Of course, we're different, but it's just like growing up in the town we grew up in. You know what I'm saying? It's all I got a friend out in L.A. and we're close, and I see this man maybe once every 5 years. 5 years. I wish I could see him more. But me and the slick Rick, we're on the same type of wavelength. We don't really like to. I don't like to leave my house too much, me personally, unless I'm working. And he don't like to leave LA too much either. So we're on the same wavelength. But we chit chat on a regular basis. We send each other, stuff, text each other. So, um the people that you want to communicate with, you will keep up with. The people that you don't want to communicate with, you will not. I know I had this conversation with my brother. My brother said, I'm just not good at talking on the phone. And I said, yeah, as the kids say. I said, hey, man. All my brother would always say, I don't be having my phone on me a lot. But then I started noticing whenever I was around my brother, he would always have the phone in his hand. I'm like, this guy's always talking about he don't have the phone in his hand. But every time I see him, he keeps the phone in his hand. So I said, you know what? That's my brother. I love him. But he don't wanna carry on that much of a relationship with me, and that's fine. It's nothing bad. Now when he gets around me, he's like, "Oh, man, I love my brother," but it's like, "Hey, man, now I see you once a year," like, and now I have my kids with me, so, you know, you can't really focus on a relationship with somebody when your kids are around, because the kids are gonna be hanging on your leg, or ask you a bunch of questions, or you're gonna be checking on them. It's nothing, it's nothing personal. Everybody knows. Everybody that has kids know your focus is on, you got one eye on the conversation and the other eye on like, well, let me make sure my kid's all right. It's just the way it is. And so you do things that you actually wanna do, the more you think about it, I know a lot of people like, "Oh, man, I really like to do this, I really like to do that." Well, what are you waiting on? What are you gonna do? Since I've been home the last 2 weeks, I've been home and I've been, straightening up, downstairs. I've been, getting my stuff together, making because I want to start doing, more videos or whatnot. And it's not, and I can't say I would really like to do videos, and then I never do anything about the videos. I got the camera set up, I got the Zoom or whatever. So in order to do interviews, you need Zoom. You got to make sure your equipment's good. I like to record wherever with the podcast, but if I'm gonna do interviews, I can't interview people. Like, hey man, I know I'm in the back of the truck. You want to make it look, nice and neat. You want to make it look, you know, professional. And so for me, I'm just like, all right, people email me a lot. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get back. But now it's like, all right, I really want to start interviewing people. So we're really gonna hunker down and we're really gonna focus. That's for me. That's just, and then I can't say 6 months from now, I really want to interview people again. You can't say that no more. You say it one time, you go, hey, I really would like to get in contact with this person. We'll get in contact with them. I remember one time, it was a cousin of mine. She was a female, uh, great person. I love her. I remember, and she was like, "We should keep in contact. We used to be close." Blah 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 blah. And like people do. Oh, here's my number. Here's my number. And I think I might have called one time. She said something about calling me back. She ain't never called me back. I ain't offended, man. It's just it is what it is. You know what I mean? Some people you go with, some people gonna be on the ride of life with you forever. Okay, my little brother, we are locked in for life. Okay, me and him. He's the only person that I grew up with that I still keep in contact with on a regular basis. The only person, and that's nothing. It's nothing like offensive. I'm not offended by anybody. Anybody that I used to know, anybody that if I ever run into them, it's all good. It's a handshake. It's a hug. It's a man. How you been? Man, you look good. Blah blah. Glad to see you alive. But I don't have to sit there forever and try to make conversation. I had a homeboy. We was best friends. From the time we got to like junior high to like high school to like our early 20s. We don't have nothing in common no more, you know what I mean? It's over. And it's nothing bad. And it's just like I only hear from him when he wants something. When he goes to jail, I hear from him. And then I'm always like, bro, I don't hear from you until you go to jail. Like, bro, we can't have that ain't no type of relationship to keep up with. You do the things that you actually want to do, you know what I mean? I remember I had another cousin. He passed away. I remember I saw him. We this we was I had just got out the Navy and I ran into him at like the store, or I might have seen him in the street. And I got to talking to him, and I remember I told him, I said, "Say, man, we gotta do better, man." I see you, my dog, man. I said, but man, you got to stop acting so funny all the time. I was like, man, you come around, man. I come check on you, man. You check on me, man. We'll be buddies, and our relationship grew. When we was in high school, we was more, what they say, frenemies. We was more frenemies, than like he was cool. He would give it. He would pick me and my little brother up. He would pick us up and then be like, "Hey, what y'all about to do?" And jump us off real quick. He was always trying to follow behind other people, and that's cool, man. That's high school. But I told him, I said, high school over with, my boy. It's me and you, man. I said we can rock and roll, and we can be tight. And we turned up. We grew up. We got to be tight. He passed away. I miss him, and I'm happy that our relationship blossomed from high school into adults. I'm happy that we got better after high school. But I say all that to say, what do you want to do, and you will make the time for it. We all make the time for it. You want your relationship with your spouse to grow. You'll make time for it. You want to write that book. You'll make time for it. You want to create all this content. You'll make time for it. You want to become a Hollywood star. You'll make time to go to acting classes. You know what I mean? But I'm saying all this because a lot of times we all think, "Oh man, but I need all the time in the world." You actually don't. I've recorded 900 and some episodes of this podcast, and we've recorded them from anywhere and somewhere everywhere. And we made the time quite a bit. Working all day, coming back to record. We've made time for it, and you can make time for it too. And so, and now life is going to get even busier, but I'm going to be even more, doing more, creating more things because this is what I want to do. And plus, I want to spend quite a bit of time with my two lovely daughters, who I love very much. They're quite the joy. But ladies and gents, I hope this helps. Make make the time. Sometimes we think we don't have enough time. We got all the time in the world. Okay, life comes at you fast. Life, you know, you, and you got to be careful because before you know it, man, you'll be, on your last, on your last days. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we know our last days. Sometimes our last days. come up quicker than we hope. Okay, let me just say that. As somebody who has a lot, as somebody who has seen a lot of people pass in the last, few years, especially people that I not that people, as I told you before. I don't know if I told you, but we got this shirt, and every year in my family we do a family reunion, and every year we have a T-shirt, and there's one shirt that I had the hardest time to wear because it has the names of people that I know. It's not people. It's not before it'd be a long distance cousin in Indiana somewhere, something like that. And it's like it's sad, but this shirt in particular it just hit because there were so many people that you know. You're very close with. You're very you love and not you love everybody, but you really like these people, and so you know so you always want to be aware of, hey man, time is not available. You know, time is of the essence sometimes. You got a lot of time, but then it's like, hey, make the most of the time that you have. Okay. Listen, I know I'm waxing philosophy, but it's all right. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow post graduation with an all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rizano. Thank you for listening. God bless each and every one of you. All right. And as always, everybody, peace.